what information sources do you use to educate yourself about climate change? Again, what information sources do you use to educate yourself about climate change? Andrea Gunner has raised the first card with the Green Party. Andrea, please.
I am fortunate in that I am governed by the natural resource legislation in BC as a professional agrologist. The other natural resource professionals are geologists, foresters, biologists, and the tech. And so I have this great network, plus we all have to do a minimum of 30 to 40 hours a year of professional development. So I normally do about 100 hours a year of professional development, not only using that network of science professionals and resource professionals, but also access through the university systems. I teach as a sessional lecturer at TRU. I also have access to the University of Alberta that puts on some great courses, UBCO and UBC, and so Green Party is science-based, and that's where I get my information, from the scientific community.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to have a crack at that one next? Otherwise, Kyle Delphine, we're on to you.
Generally with the climate change or climate crisis stuff, I will go to the CBC and other mainstream broadcasters to learn about the climate crisis, climate change itself. I like to talk to biologists and forestry workers. Climate emergency, I'll generally look at the IPCC, but generally their predictions are never right. As far as getting science, we have doctors like Dr. Patrick Moore, who was one of the founders of Greenpeace, who left Greenpeace because it became more about the green and less about the environment. He's got a good book out about climate disasters and fake scenarios that the media likes to sell us. Also, when it comes down to climate change itself, I do like to talk to the locals, and I've seen a vast array of different ways to deal with climate change. I've met orchardists this summer that lost their entire crop in June, and I've met orchardists that had bumper crops in June. And I like to talk to those farmers because you get to learn how we have innovated our technology to deal with climate change so that we can continue to prosper as a human race. Thanks.
Thank you, Mel Arnold. The question again, what information sources do you use to educate yourself about climate change?
Thank you, Chris. With my role, we have just a constant flood of information coming in, so I try to make sure that what's coming in has been peer reviewed. We can obtain information from the Library of Parliament, but I also rely on my colleagues. We have shadow ministers that really will focus on the key pieces we need. But for myself personally, much like Kyle, I see the mainstream media as well as a source of where to start to look. A lot of the cases, those are really just the lead in to the links to the actual reports. I also get a lot of information through my work on the Standing Committee on Fisheries, where we've heard much about how climate change is affecting our rivers, our streams, and our ocean, whether it's acidification, water temperatures, and so on. That's where the most of my focus has been in my role as on the Fisheries Committee, is through the water effects as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron Johnson.
I don't have access to the same level of scientist as Andrea, but I am fortunate to be close friends with a climate biologist at UNBC who's been a friend of mine since my teens, and he's a wealth of information and additional sources for me. And I also rely on scientific publications and reliable mainstream media sources, mostly not for what they're reporting directly, but because the references that they give take you directly to the peer-reviewed scientific articles that give you the full story.
Thank you. Okay.